So, Sammy, I asked you to come to all the times that I was on football. I asked you against bloody Southampton. That's bad memory, isn't it?
Bad for me.
Southampton, FA Cup final, 1976.
Yeah.
Hot favourite. Should I sit down? You're not staying.
I'm alright.
Everyone thought it was, even Tommy said it after the semi, it was United, wasn't it? What happened?
Well, we were a young team, believe it or not, and Southampton were a very experienced side. Carrion, Lord Reeds, and on the day, it's the quickest game of football that's ever went past in my life. We didn't turn up really. We lost 1-0 to an offside goal. I hit the bar from 6 yards, just should have scored. So it was a nightmare. But the thing that reminds me about that game is Tommy Dock, after the game, said, "Don't worry, you supporters. Next year we'll be back and we'll win it." And he was right. We beat Liverpool in the '77 Cup final. Fantastic.
But in those days, obviously the last 15 years, a lot of teams get to the final every other year, but it wasn't a big. It was a big thing to get to the final. First time United got there in the FA Cup for 13 years. Yes. So it was a big thing for Tommy to say that. I bet it was. What did he say there?
Well, he had 2 bottles of wine when he said that.
I can believe that. But what I want to focus back on that era is that we lost 3 league games in the last 4 weeks of the season. Yeah. So because the FA Cup in those days was such a big event, we actually could have won the double. We could have won the league. You know what I mean? People always talk about losing the FA Cup, but we could have won the league. Couldn't we? QPR were fighting Liverpool, and Liverpool did it in the end, didn't it?
Well, don't forget Peter Nemdes. The squads weren't big. We sort of picked the same team every other week unless there was an injury. And we were doing really well, especially coming out of that second division under the Dock. We just went on a fantastic run, great football. The fans loved the football, and we just didn't have enough know-how to compete in those 2 competitions, even though we got to the cup final. But we had a good chance. Did we finish third that year?
I think, yeah, QPR came second.
Yeah. So we were still progressing, and 77 when we won it. You know what happened after that? The Dock got the sack.
I'll ask you the next question. It's a reasonable question. The buzz around United after beating Liverpool, stopping them, winning the treble, and it must have affected the players. We were on a high. Even opponents thought we probably would have won the league. And how did it affect you as the players?
It was a funny one because obviously you all know he had an affair with Mary Brown, the Fitzgerald's wife, and you can't really sack Larry Brown. No, you can't really sack Larry Brown because of what happened. But we were all shocked. No one had a clue what was going on. The Dock kept that really quiet, but we were all a bit disappointed because, like you, we thought we could build on this team and push for the league. Maybe another couple of signings, whatever. We could have pushed on for the league. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Dave Sexton came in after that, and Dave had a little bit different ideas. Lovely man, fantastic man, Dave Sexton. We got to the cup final in '79. That's another story. But Dave just wasn't the Tommy Dock. Totally the opposite.
Well, is that why they picked him? Because he was the opposite of the flamboyant Dock?
I think the fans loved Tommy Dock. I know the papers did, because we were in the papers every day.
Well, what did he say about that? He said, when Tommy had a press conference, they were looking for things to keep out. Yeah. And when Dave had one, they were trying to put things in.
Exactly. I mean, the Tommy Dock's press conferences, the press was packed. With Dave didn't like doing the press. And that, for Manchester United, that wasn't a good thing, because we're a worldwide club. You need to know what's going on. But he was a nice man, Dave. He got us to the cup final in '79, which, we had won that might have been a push on for Dave, but unfortunately we lost that one as well.
I know older people might remember the cup final against Arsenal. You call it a great final. It wasn't a great final, was it? It was a good few last minutes, but
4 minutes.
2-0 down, and then Gordon McQueen scores one, which is, I don't believe to this day actually, but you scored that wonderful goal, and the feeling amongst the players must have been, it's ours now.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I celebrated too long. When you get an equaliser there at Wembley, I mean, it was unbelievable. But what we should have done after the event, go take them back to the halfway line, because they'd gone Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I knew Pat Jennings, Sammy Nelson, Pat Rice, all Irish players, Northern Ireland. They were gone, totally gone. We take it into extra time, it's a different ball game, but we didn't, we celebrated and we tried to go on and win it. But to be fair, we hadn't got a player in that team to kick Brady when he had the ball. Just bring him down. Mickey had a little go, Lou had a little go, and then the other reason is, let's be fair, Gary Billy made the balls up at the cross, didn't he?
Well, at least, chatting to Gordon McGreen a few times, at least Gordon's not been affected by it. He doesn't still play Gary over the years.
Oh, he does.
I know he does. No, but, and then obviously the following season, we almost won the league, didn't we? Yeah. Last game of the season, playing really good. Yeah. I mean, I suppose if Liverpool weren't as good as they were, we probably would have won the league one before that.
Well, we were chasing Liverpool. Liverpool had a fantastic team, Dalglish, Souness and Hansen, Lawrence. They were a great team, and we were up against that. And we did the cup games over there, but we just weren't as consistent in the league, and that's the only problem. And that really got us round, because Liverpool win it and win it and win it, and us getting to the World Cup final, it wasn't good enough. And second was our best shot.
Almost bizarre about Dave Sexton's last season. I think we remember this. We drew at Villa, who went on to win the league 3-0, and then we drew against Forest. I know I should get out more, by the way. I know these statistics. We drew against Forest at home. I remember it because Kenny Burns scored no goal,
right.
And the Stretford end all sang his name. Quite cruel, really. And then we won 7 games on the road, didn't we?
Yeah.
And Sexton got sacked.
Unbeaten.
9 unbeaten. And
yeah.
What do you know you're going to play for, What about moving on? Flamboyant, Doherty, bit different, Dave Sexton, and then we had, again, Big Ron.
Big flash on.
Big flash Ron, yeah.
Yeah, well, I love champagne, love jewellery. When you were talking to him, you had to wear sunglasses. He was good for us, but he was a football man, but he loved himself, Big Ron. He had a sunbed in his office. Is
that why Clayton or Clayton Lamage or Screen?
Well, Helen Clayton used to wish with sunbed, but he was flamboyant, he liked having a drink with the lads, and which was great. It was great. The training was good, and he was good for the club. But I just had a little fallout with him at the time when I left the club, and it was over something that I can't really say because I'd swear too much. But he came with the knowledge that he was going to do everything for Manchester United. He had the money spent. Robbo, what was it, 1.7 million or something?
Yeah.
Remy
Do
Moses.
you remember when Robbo sang?
I got a hat trick that day. I got a hat trick
against Wolverhampton Wanderers.
I think that got me a transfer. But he messed about a lot that money because he told me Stoke City came in, and I didn't really want to go to Stoke. No disrespect to Stoke, lovely club. But he didn't tell me about Everton being in as well. Because obviously Stoke or Everton, where we're going to go, I think it'll be Everton. But he didn't tell me the full facts and that, and we had a few words, and that was it. But I still think it was good for the club. He got to 2 cup finals, won 2 cups, close. I remember we won 10 games. We won one season, unbeaten.
Yeah, first 10 games of the season.
And we think we were going to win the league,
yeah. And
then it all fell apart. But he's okay. I mean, I still speak to Big Ron. He works at MUTV. He's okay. Still goes on to Sunday.
To be fair, some of the football under Big Ron, some of the best football I've seen, wasn't it really? But looking at Villa and other clubs, he's never quite got it. He used to win the league. He's never quite got it. He's a great
man. Great cup record.
You signed for United. The last was we made. So you worked under a few managers. So I'm sure you didn't have much pressure being from Belfast. Did you really?
I mean, one of the reasons why I came to Manchester United was George Best. I'm looking around the audience tonight, there's a lot of young people in the audience tonight, except for Denise Whiteside there. Best was one of the main reasons why I came to Manchester United. I remember watching him on the television at home, black and white telly, and what I used to do was unbelievable. What a football. I remember watching one game against Benfica in 66, I think it was. 65, and he was just unbelievable.
That's a game I almost made. He wanted us to see.
Oh my God, he was unbelievable. And that made me go out in the street. I was only a kid at the time, wanting to play football.
Although it was spin you on, was also hard because every time somebody, even when any winger came through, the Irish one, Dixie came through, is he the new best when Norman came? You know, everyone that came through.
From plus the fact that, the big weight side as well, different players, fantastic player, big weight side. But anyone comes from Belfast, they were dealing with George Best, which was an absolute joke, because there was only one George Best.
Where was Dan Gibson from?
He's from Derry, innit? He was from Derry. But everyone from them days came, and that was that, the next best, but there was only one best.
He debuted, Main Road, City away.
Fantastic.
3-all.
Yeah.
And even though George actually passed you, didn't he?
No, Tony Vick was taking the shirt off Bestie.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, and I just got the rebound from Bestie. But it's funny, on the Friday, in those days, we used to have a mini derby, City Reserves, for United Reserves. And I went in on a Friday morning, and Bill Folks, Bill Folks, great player for United, he was a reserve team manager. And he pulled me and he said, listen, before training, you're not going to be involved in the reserves tonight. So I said to Bill, why? He said, no, I'm not talking to you, we're going to go training. You're not. I said, so I chased after Bill, why am I not playing? Because that was a big thing for us to play against City. He said, you're reporting for the first team tomorrow. 11 o'clock, make sure you've got a collar and tie on and go with the first team. That's all he said to me. Frank O'Farrell said nothing to me, he was the manager. No one said anything. You report for the first team. And I actually thought, seriously, I was going to help with the kit. Buy the kit, collected after the game, that was it. I wasn't even told to take my boots. The kit man took the boots for me, I didn't even know my boots were in the skip. So I got there at 11 o'clock at Old Trafford on the Saturday morning, and Frank O'Farrell told me that Dennis had failed a fitness test, and I was playing. That's the first time I found out at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And I had to get the bus from Stratford to Old Trafford.
Do you have any money or did you gym it?
No, 63 bus from Stratford to Old Trafford. Can you imagine how these days?
Exactly. But obviously you was a striker for the first year of your career.
Yeah.
So when did the transition become to be midfield?
Tommy Dock brought Jimmy Green up here. Doc and Jerry Dilly had a lot of a bust up, and Jerry, who was a fantastic player, Jerry Dilly, a great friend of mine, he had to move on, which was a shame because he was a great player, Jerry. And Jimmy Green up came in from
in November 1976. I never shook hands myself.
And that was it. I got moved back to midfield with Lou.
Was you okay?
Oh yeah, I was alright. I mean, I don't think I was strong enough really to be a striker. Not to build the big weight side. He was bored 6